Hi, Seekers at Ebenezer UMC. My name is Reverend Crystal Sage, and I'm the Executive Director of Sister Source Incorporated, which is a nonprofit dedicated to spiritually expansive Black women, girls, and femmes who practice Unitarian Universalism or spiritually expansive, however they define that. I'm so happy to talk to you all about Unitarian Universalism, faith and practice, and for this United Methodist season crossover. I am so excited. I went to seminary with Alex and I had the most incredible experience learning how United Methodist faith tradition practices and enjoys the divine. And I'm so delighted to be able to bring this information to you all today. Now, I will say I am sick. So my voice is terrible and I'm going to periodically sneeze and have to get myself together, and I will turn my camera off when I do that because who needs that? But I feel like 'tis the season. And so I I want to give you all the opportunity to ask questions, to push back if you like that, because Unitarians love to push back on everything, and to follow up with any clarifications or things that you want to say. So please relay that to Alex, and I will be able to come back to you with those answers and maybe even join you all sometimes on the computer. So we're in my office, which is my Unitarian Universalist little conclave. I myself am a Universal Life Church minister, which is the ordination that you can receive online, and I practice Unitarian Universalism. I am, of course, leading a nonprofit that's dedicated to UUism, what we call it, UUism. UU. And I am personally agnostic and Buddhist. So this is something that is really dear to me. And I have so many people that pour into that ability to do so at a high level. So my office is a great representation of that. So I'm going to show you that before we start. This is a library that was built from donations from volunteers. And I'll be honest with you, that same volunteer drove down here and brought me like 40 tons more books once I built this site up. So I'm so grateful for her. Shout out to Heather and other people who followed suit and have now said, Reverend Crystal, can I donate you stuff? I'm like, oh my gosh, of course you can. But it is so much stuff in here, so I felt like this is a perfect place to be able to explain this. I'm going to try to keep it to 20 to 30 minutes, but while I'm in here, I can like grab stuff and I can say, oh yeah, this is what, this is where what this is, or I can show you visual symbols. Okay, I gotta take a drink. I try to soothe my throat for a little bit. So, what is it? What is it? What is Unitarian Universalism? We say UU. What is it? Long before we had the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, which would have been so many lifetimes after Jesus' death. Jesus died as an old man at 33. We had the Catholic Church come together in many different splits after that with the Greek Orthodox Church about keeping particular symbols and keeping particular language. We didn't have a smooth religion. We had St. Augustine in Africa who was talking a lot about it, different things. It was really galvanizing people. We had the early Coptic church in Ethiopia that are oldest Christian communities that were really doing things their way. And we had many different little sects of religious followings after Jesus had set his example and had died. And so one of those early ways of believing was Unitarianism, where, and it kind of reminds me of Zoroastrianism and some of those very, very old religions that believed that there was only one God. And even if that God was displayed as a serpent or as as a something or other, that was very different than Greek that believed in a bunch of separate gods that were responsible for things. Or in Africa, you have Yoruba and different traditions where there's Shango is for is power and is married to oh, my brain just blanked out of who Shango is married to, but she protects the waterways and the highways and things. There was a need for a singularity in a lot of cultures, that there was this one major source that was guiding everything. And I would say that that's not even, give me a second. I would say that that's not even that unique to a belief system, but normally you would have there be a big God. Jehovah is the one high God in many African traditions, even now. Or you would have like Zeus, or you would have Shango. So that idea that there was one unified God it's not that bizarre. But after Jesus came along, there was so many different things that and confusions about who Jesus was and how he was, because of the different ways that people experienced him, that there were people who were not sure. Mark is one of the earliest gospels that has this very avoidant Jesus that's like, oh, I'm going to go be by myself, or they want me to heal. I just was over there. Who are you, God? Who are you, Jesus? And he says, who do you say that I am? That Jesus was the earliest. And then we have super Jesus when we get to Matthew, which is way later. Then we get to John, which is way later. We have like super Jesus was God. He was all these things. So that range of thought existed in different communities because of their experience with Jesus when he walked the earth. So Unitarians really landed on, well, there's just one God. Now, Universalists were another group that were not called that back then, but they were still of the mindset that there was this opportunity for restoration and for transformation and for this idea of, the way that Greek talks about sin and moving towards maturity, to moving towards perfection. That word perfection and maturity was interchangeable in the early scribing of the Bible, of moving towards perfection as a plant matures, was that Greek root. So that idea that, well, everyone has an opportunity to go to heaven eventually, universalism was one concept. And then, sorry, I'm sniffling, and Unitarian was another concept, and they were not existing together. They were doing their own thing. And so in 19, oh, my brain, I have it on a piece of paper somewhere, what exact year it is. I'll find it while we're talking. One of the years. 1961, the Unitarian Service Council, it was a group in Germany that was practicing these things that were more like Unitarian and more like one God and one way forward. Were trying to help with refugees that were needing to be very covertly moved into safety from Nazi Germany. And they wanted to put something on their letterhead that made them look official, the Unitarian Service Group. And they came up with this circle and this light on the inside. And for us, this light is one of the most pivotal parts of our faith, and that's the chalice. There was just the one circle, and then the religion moved along towards America, and college students so Harvard, it was like a big hotbed for Unitarians, and college students came together and said, what we're doing is so similar, we should join. And so it was our youth that brought Unitarian and Universalists together. And that's why we have two circles behind the symbol of the chalice. This is representative of that movement and of unity. And so our early principles were 7, and I have them here. We have since retired these with lots of drama involved, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So these principles are our version of a covenant with one another. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we are covenantal. People say that Unitarians don't believe anything. That's what I heard when I was in seminary. Unitarians don't believe anything. We don't not believe anything. We believe a lot of things, and we don't all believe the same things, but we're held together by our commitment to the principles. Not just that we believe in a particular way, but that we're committed to these things. And these things are: Principle one, the inherent worth and dignity of each person. So I respect the inherent worth and dignity of each person, which kind of goes against original sin, technically, of being born bad or needing to be born and born again through baptism. So we respect that each person has inherent worth and dignity. That one tends to be the most important for a lot of people. Principle two, we will seek justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. And justice, equity, and compassion are different things. Justice is a system and is a way of being, and is sometimes in the moment something can be just, but it's not lawful, right? Equity is evening out how those things play out, which also can be systemic. And then compassion is a feeling. Compassion is a feeling, but then it also can be a way of practice. Are we giving compassionate care to groups of people? Are we giving compassionate outreach to people that we don't agree with? Are we approaching things compassionately with the way that we create systems around beloved community? Cultivate acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Love that one. And then a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. This fourth principle is very, very important for a lot of people. And so much so that it has caused a lot of problems of people taking that principle and putting it with our democratic process. So the next one is number 5, advance the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, the right of conscience. In the First Amendment, hold on, I'm going to turn my camera off so I can get myself together. In the First Amendment, we have the freedom of conscience, where those early colonies were established and developed around the idea that we didn't have to oppose a religion on people and that they can still be good and moral. So some of that is kind of like an old way of talking about that. That language is kind of like an old way of saying, like, can people do the right thing with the freedom of their liberty of conscience, their liberty of the ability to think through a problem and come to the right decision? And this was on the back of the Enlightenment movement. So that, John Locke and people like that, they're just they strongly believe in the ability of humans to be able to do good things and to strive for good things. And that's called humanism. And we have a lot of congregations that are entirely humanist, and we'll talk about that soon. But we have, we have so many groups that have taken that part of it, and it has gone in very bizarre and difficult directions that I'll talk about in a minute. We respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part of. I love this one because I'm Buddhist. And so for me, everything is connected. Everything is kind of like God's heartbeat, if you will. And it's all a web of love and also a web of suffering, of like the what we might think of within United Methodism or Christianity, depending on where you are in the faith, of a human heaviness, a need for redemption and restoration and resurrection. I think about as something that we all share as well, in that same way of like a need for freedom from suffering. So I love that one. And then the last one, 7, is to build principles on beloved community by actions that accountably dismantle racism and other forms of oppression in ourselves and institutions. Oh, that was principle 8. So now we're going to get to that. Dismantling racism is added as a principle, an 8th principle, but everyone didn't adopt it. And we went through a lot of drama and a lot of heartbreak in 2020. 2020, where we periodically, sorry guys, I have to wipe my nose, periodically are supposed to be looking at our principles and making sure that they align with the modern day. And that's a part of our bylaws. It's called Article 2. And this was the deal breaker for a lot of people. A lot of people did not feel that we needed to add um, anything to our principles. And the thought that we're not just not racist, but they were anti-racist, which is a belief that we have to be aggressive about dismantling systems. What didn't land on everybody. Everyone wasn't on the same page about that. So it caused a lot of difficulty for people who more felt that the belief in a free and responsible truth search for truth and meaning, and that the democratic process principles were being undermined by us adding this principle to it. So this caused a lot of controversy and a lot of people split off. And ironically, it was going on at the same time that our United Methodist churches were trying to figure out if they were going to be affirming or if they were going to update the Book of Common Discipline. So I was really right there with my colleagues with the struggle of like, what are we going to do next? Are we going to be affirming? Or are we going to, are we going to not? Are we going to decide to be anti-racist or are we going to not, right? So that was difficult to watch. But in the interim, we have so many things that kind of overlap with like why an organization like I Run actually exists that I will talk about for a very brief moment. I run a nonprofit that serves Black Unitarian Universalist women and girls that was started by Reverend Kian, but right mind, I'll get it off my shelf. And I am the first director after her. She's the founder. And she wrote this book. This is an anthology that was a collection of stories of Black women's ministries and Unitarian Universalism in 2023. And it's just chock full of stories of people who've gone through a lot. And I'm someone who just chose to not go through that process. And it was a difficult decision, but that's why I ended up getting ordained online and being a part of a larger community of accountability with my colleagues. But we have really chewed up a lot of Black women. And so we have a lot of affinity groups like mine that exist because we are trying our hardest to make sure that people are affirmed and are cared for. I will show you some of those affinity groups actually, because I also, as if I need more things to do in my life, run a little teeny, what is it called? I run a little teeny, hold on, a little teeny network of people. Oh, it didn't come right up. I'll find it in a second, y'all. So I'll stop sharing screen while I find it. But I actually, you know what? Should come right up if I put the website in. I run a little network with a bunch of here it is, with a bunch of friends that are the other affinity organizations that we have in our faith. So I will show you a picture of all of those so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So it's not just me as a Black woman at Sister Source. We have another BIPOC community, the Mountaintop. We have the Association for Unitarian Universalist Music. We have the UU Ministry for Earth, UU Ministry for Social Justice, which does like direct action. We have the Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, which is BIPOC and Black, white, and Pacific Islander and things like that. We have the transgender religious professionals, Unitarian Universalists together, which is Trust. And then we have the UU Studies Network. We have Equal Access for Disability Justice. Then we have International Convocation of UU Women, which is a partner org with me. Like we work really close together in addition to the rest of these groups. And I work really closely with UU Women's Federation. And then the Unitarian Universalist Community Ministers is where I worked for 2 years before this job. And that was for community ministries. And so I'm going to stop sharing screen and talk a little bit about why we have all these little separate groups. We are congregational. and congregational, of course. My battery's low, so I'm going to turn my camera off while we walk and go get my charger. Congregational, of course, is the ability for congregations to determine their path forward and their values based on what works for their group, but that also creates solidarity and a dedication towards their parent body. So we're very similar in that way, that we have our own congregations that are able to make decisions, but that we all try to work in as a group for our conference or our convention. And so what that means is that we have a lot of things that are being handled by the larger organization for congregations, but that for individual people are not being met. And remember that I said one of our ways of being together is that we're dedicated to those principles. But what the glue that holds us together is social justice. So social justice is a principle that we all hold. And so we all are not always in agreement about how our association, which is the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, is meeting the needs of people that are beyond congregations. And if congregations are not able to meet people's needs, then people are always kind of being left with with much to be desired. And so we have these additional groups because we're trying our best to meet the needs of people so that they feel that they are able to live out their values, which keeps our congregation strong. It's just we're not humongous. There's about between 1,000 and 1,500 UU congregations, so we're not humongous. So what else did I miss? I have a little notes here about us being congregational. Oh, I wanted to, before we continue to talk about the congregational aspect, I wanted to show you the chalices because that's really important and I don't want to forget. So when we start off a service, we light a chalice and you will see something very interesting about the chalice. It is a cup, a chalice that looks like a communion chalice. And so those symbols that kind of those icons of how we're looking at the faith through a visual lens have the Christian undertones that are our background. So we have the Judaism, we have the Christianity that are influencing where we are today. But one of the most common misconceptions is that we're a denomination, and we're not a denomination of Christianity. We're actually religion. So when we start our services, we light a chalice, and we normally have a little tea light or a bigger one if we like, but something small like this, and depending on the congregation, inside the chalice so that it's just the flame. But when I'm home, I kind of like big candles, even though this one's too big for this. And we also do really big ones and sometimes really ornate ones that show our personality or the personality of the congregation. So me as a black girly, this is what I have for home. I also have this one that takes a bigger candle, and we light it and we say a chalice reading. We would read something, a poem, or a blessing or some type of prayer, and which is kind of different from the introductory prayer. It's our chalice lighting and sets the stage, and then we put our chalice down and we'll say the chalice is lit, and then when we're done we blow it out and say the chalice is out, but not the light of truth, and take it with you. So I wanted to stop before I forgot that, because it's so important to talk about the symbols in our faith, because this is very much reminiscent of our Christian origins, and I love that the symbols are still there. One of the things that we do during our church year is a flower communion, where people bring flowers from different places and put them on the altar. And then another part of the year we do a water communion, and that's usually at the end of the summer, and people bring water from all over that they've traveled that summer and put it into a basin or a big dish. Some people do it one and then they pour it, and so that is also very much reminiscent of Christian background. And I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up. And that the third thing I was going to tell you before we get off of that symbol is that a lot of times this very much just looks like a cross when it's really small. So those principles and those ideas of visual meaning that were from our background have like carried over into a lot of things. And so back to where I was about the congregational. Because I'm getting hot, so I'm going to take this off. Because we're congregational, we also have a very different flavor for each congregation. And so the next thing I like to do is show you some pictures of different congregations so that you all can get an idea of like what worship looks like for us. Because I think that's always the question too of like, if you don't believe in the same thing, then what are you doing? Well, number one, people bring their own religion with them. So we have atheists, we have agnostics, we have Buddhists, and then sometimes like regionally, you have whole congregations that are really similar. So they are whole humanist congregation or they're a whole earth-based congregation. And so the readings or the poems that we use are kind of let me show you one. This is a Unitarian Universalist book. Let me see what I have bookmarked and I'll read it to you. Here we go. Let me tell you who we are. And this is actually by the author of the book, so you can get an idea. This is L. Annie Forster. Spirit of ages, creator of life and love, whose names and attributes are infinite, knowable and unknown. O Spirit, hear our prayers. Our names too are many. Let me tell you who we are. We are those who are innocent and those who are wise. We are those who are proud and those who are humble. We are those who are accepted and those who are shunned without understanding why. We are those who love life and those who are fearful and confused. We are those who know abundance and those who know scarcity. We are inheritors of the past and architects of the future. We are givers and we are receivers. We are larger than our skins and smaller than our egos. We are diversity incarnate, dressed in all the glorious hues of ethnicity and all the fascinating textures of genetics. We are the harvest of creation related by our humanity and separated by only our own voices. We seek a common language, a language of love. Ancient One, it is important to know us in our rich diversity, for we struggle to know ourselves and one another. Wise One, it is important to know us in our myriad similarities, for we are forgetful and need reminding. Dear One, it is important to know us in our many disguises, for we need but one thing: help us to love and help us to know we are worthy of love. In this we are one. Amen. This is for a gay pride service. So that's a beautiful one. But if you notice that the different language for God was dear one, or it was, spirit, or it was something that was like larger than yourself, and it wasn't particularly God. And we have a lot of things like that in the language that we use and in the music that we use. And we just use secular music that is inspiring. I mean, it could be Bob Dylan, it could be Beyonce, and this is another one I just grabbed. Earth Prayers. This one's more of a earth-based type of approach to, we overcome this wind, we desire the rain to fall, and it be poured in showers quickly. Ah, thou rain, I adjure thee fall. So we have a lot of different inspirations that are used during service that are various types of approaches. And I would say that a lot of it goes into the type of congregation of what they choose. And this is one of those, hold on for a second, guys. Okay, I had to blow my nose really quickly. So this is one of those things that I think is really important to note about different congregations, is that you're going to get a different flavor. And because we are so heavily influenced by our Christian backgrounds, and because we get so many people that are just so like, I don't want that as a part of my life anymore. A lot of times the congregations can be a little intolerant to use that are Christian. And I personally, I know other people don't might not feel this way for my faith, but honestly, when I talk about it, people tend to listen to me. That I do think it's why we're not as diverse as we could be, because I do think that a lot of black girls and women having like backgrounds in Christianity, just statistically in the US, don't feel seen and don't see themselves in the way that we worship. So that's just me. But one of the things that my organization does is try to like add some diversity and add some different approaches to how we do worship, because a lot of times it can lean to very white. Because if you think about, if I gave you all a task and said, okay, seekers, I want you guys to develop an interfaith service for Crystal's group, and there's no like religious songs. Like, yeah, we have a hymnal, but it's not like super religious, right? What would you do? Like, if you are listening to me right now, you're gonna pick things that make sense for your culture. Normally, you wouldn't try to decide, like, oh, let me think of a black song that would work. Or, oh, it's gonna be black people there. Like, let me think of a song that could cross over. That's more challenging. Even if I was doing something for indigenous folks, I did a service last year that was a it was I don't remember, it was, I think it was 2 years ago. It was some type of celebration that was like along the same time of year, something that was dear to indigenous rights. I think maybe like it was like fighting for the water pipeline or something. And I spent hours talking to people and listening to stuff and screening music. So I understand how hard that is. So because it's not natural to understand what is spiritual or what is profane or what is like inappropriate about other people's music that you can use in a secular music that you can use in a religious setting. Our worship tends to be very monochromatic. It tends to be like the diversity is like playing Sam Cooke, change gonna come like every single time. So one of the things that my organization has done, and I would love to show you guys a little bit more about that right now, is I actually, oh, I guess I just have to type it in. I have added resources for congregations that is more diverse. So that's something that people do enjoy from my organization. I have resource library, and as a part of that, I have a bunch of worship resources and music. And so it might surprise you to hear and see that these are songs that we listen to for service, but it's true. Um, we love, love, love India Ivory. We love India Ivory. We love this person here is Lee, and she's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow in this song. And we love isn't that spiritual? Look at her voice. Hold on, let me see if I can turn it up. There's a we love Lee. We love it. So, let me make sure I'm sharing my sound too. Okay, I don't know if you can hear it before, but listen to her voice. Woo! So we love, India Ivory. I am light, I am light. I wish my voice wasn't gone. I am light, I am light. One of our favorites. This is a UU group that has formed from some of our stars, and this is one of the things that I was going to show you next, is that the structures of our congregation. This is All Souls in DC. That is a very big and old Christian looking sanctuary. The minister is here, which is very similar to the pattern for a Christian church. But this is a song you know. This is not particularly religious, and they sing it during church all the time. So they are absolutely incredible. This song, Alma, I actually got commissions from them for my installation service, and I'm so proud of it. So I'm gonna actually see if I can pull it up really quickly because they are so incredible. And I think it's just not intuitive to see this type of music during worship. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to experience that too. Where is it? Here it is, right here. And then I feel like this is going on really long. I said I was going to talk for 30 minutes, and I feel like I've been talking for a long time. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. Um, so we'll end with this. We'll end with
Keep
this.
filling out your Beheld playlist. Thank you for including us.
Oh, this is
We love you more.
their little tribute. Okay, here we go.
Oh, nothing above me, and want nothing of me. All you have is mine. Oh, see me, be the ground beneath me, and the tree that feeds me, just to watch me shine. Love me, hold nothing above me, and want nothing of me. All you have is mine. Oh, see me, be the ground beneath me, and the tree that feeds me, just to watch it shine. I can stand my whole life searching for what words to say. This is love, love is you, love is you. And yet I find my way to carry what I can't repay. Love would never ask me to. Hold me, be the one to hold me, always singing boldly, teaching me to fly. Forgive me, let your love outlive me. If no one will forgive me, say you're gonna find. Though I try, I just can't find words of gratitude. There's no me without you. So instead, I thought I'd sing a song to you, just the way you taught
Okay, gonna cry if I watch the whole song. So, I hope we all learned a lot about ways that we find ourselves within this spiritual space. I know it might seem so different and so bizarre at first, but we really come together based on our shared principles, and we all lean towards particular sets of social justice values. We disagree on a lot, of course, but it holds us together. And from that disagreement that came about the principles and us looking at them, we came up with a new principle, a way of showing it, which is Jet Pig, which I'll pull up while that's playing in the background. That is this really cute thing. It's a flying pig on a jetpack. And we have justice for J, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, Jet Pig as the new way of conceptualizing love at the center. So we have so many songs that like are about love that we use for worship and just different things that like speak to our hearts. One of our absolute giants in our faith is Mary Oliver. So we read a lot of Mary Oliver. Most times we call each other beloved from Mary Oliver, saying that that was her dearest hope is to call herself, find herself to be called beloved. And we also talk a lot about the beloved community from Martin Luther King. So that's where a lot of that language comes from, our theological language. And now I'm going to quickly show you before we finish up some of our congregations that will give you an idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to the congregational way that we do things and the way that we have our spaces. This is River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and you can see that it's outside in the way that it's inside outside with the windows, and this is inside, and you can see that the person who's speaking is down lower on a flat platform, and you can look down on them, but the person who's preaching is not severely elevated from the other people. So that's one theological expression in the way that this is designed. Another congregation that's really similar to that with the big windows is Cedar Lane UU in Maryland. I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of examples for where I'm from because I can think of them quickly. And then hold on, I need to blow my nose. And so you can see the way that the sanctuary promotes a vision and a appearance of equity and a feeling of equity with your minister when you're, which is actually right here, when you're sitting there and listening to the message. And then you have some congregations that are a little more old school in the ways that they are designed. So I'll show you All Souls UU Church in New York, which is old school, right? You see that? And then you see the organs and everything. I'll show you another one like that, which is First U of Philadelphia is like that. Oopsie, I can't take right now. Very, 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 very old looking. Oh, there is my pastor getting married, I think, in that picture. Yeah, that is my pastor getting married in that picture. And you can see a very, very old cathedral and those stained glass windows and the Christian imagery that's still retained in that congregation. And then, oh, sorry, I didn't realize my camera was still off. And then you have like All Souls in Tulsa that has a very, very high church look and feel. But that is an older looking church. And then you have some that are a little different and like you don't have a lot, but I want to show you some of the pioneers that are doing different things. Abundant Love in Georgia in Atlanta has a old school, old church feel. An old church feel. That's Reverend Duncan Teague. And he is wearing a robe. You can see that he's wearing a robe and a stole, which is something that we wear when we're ordained. And that you can see that in this he has more of an African overlay. But that would be I'm gonna put in my let's see what other place I want to show you for outfits because if you think about the last church you see robes, but then sometimes you might see like a tunic and a sweater or a lower looking a lower church looking outfit. And let's see, I'll show you what I wear. I'm taking a chance Googling myself without editing the pictures. Okay, this is Reverend Shannon that interviewed me for something, so I'm connected to her. But you can see that she has a stolen, and it's just a super cute outfit, right? Let's see. Outfits. This is another outfit. This is like a crop top and a skirt that's African. Oh, there's some maternity pictures of me. And that's such a nice look. Let's see if I can show you some of the looks for the Black women that are in our faith. We have this interfaith, multicultural community ministries, and they have some really incredible looks too. And I love that it doesn't have to look the same way for us to have that respect for one another. Here we go. This is what I meant by a tunic and a long sweater. This is Reverend Peace, has different looks. Reverend Shannon has different looks. And Reverend Peace also has a lot of really cute looks too. And I'm gonna pull up Reverend Peace's outfit. There we go. So this is a nice cute dress with a really fun stole with some cats. And yeah, so it'll look differently based on the congregation that you're in, but it all is based on this spiritual heartbeat that believes in something greater. And a lot of UUs have two jokes that I'll leave you with. Number one, they say we're good for nothing, meaning that we're not thinking about heaven or hell. We're just good for no reason. So we've a lot of times have dropped that Unitarian or that Universalist idea. Now it's just this new thing that like it's whatever you think, but it's also not for a trade-off in the afterlife to be good. And that the other really funny joke is that like when you ask a Unitarian what they believe in, they'll say the bedrock of my faith is that your guess is as good as mine. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this time, and as is customary for me, I'm going to blow out our chalice and say that the fire is out, but not the light of truth and the power of commitment. And I hope this wasn't too long. I'm sure when I get off of here, I'm going to have been talking for way too long. So hopefully you guys can split it up if it's too much information. And I hope that you'll have questions for me to really deepen your seeking. And I'm so happy and proud of the ways that you all are looking for ways to understand different people. And I really love the ways that we are able to come together in overlaps in our faith. Okay, take care.